nurses here besides our infant care center nurses, so thank you for coming today. We talked a little bit about the boos of breastfeeding. Now we're going to talk about the bees, or how to be supported with breastfeeding. I read a lot of breastfeeding blogs that women put out there, and I came across this cute story, and I thought this kind of fit in with our boobies today, okay? My verbal 2-year-old nursling calls breastfeeding boos. We were at a graduation party that had a table with a bright margarita punch bowl on it. As I watched, she walked over and grabbed an empty cup, waited until an older gentleman walked up, held onto the cup, pointed to the bowl and said, "Some peas." The man said, "I'm sorry, little one, you can't have any. It has booze in it." I saw her eyes light up as she looked at the bowl again. She had a huge smile as she lifted up the cup to him again and said, "That's okay. My mommy gives me boozes all the time." So that's not the kind of boozes we're talking about today, but we're going to talk about being the change, how you can be the change, individually, locally, for your community and for your nation. Individually, you can be the change. Just remember, this is not your story. This new mom and her baby, she's decided to breastfeed her baby. This is her story. You've already written yours, okay? Nursing practice changes through research, and we need to teach research-based evidence, not by hearsay, or not what worked for us, or not what we think, but by research-based evidence. So support this new mother and her decision to breastfeed. Do not rob her of this experience that she chooses. Be the change locally for your unit and for your community, supportive of the decisions that mothers choose. Be supportive for the changes that your unit is doing to be exclusively breastfeeding their mothers until discharge.
May I have your attention, please?
Be the change for a healthier nation. Breastfeeding has universally been recognized as an important contributor to public health and mother-baby bonding. So be that change. So where did we come from? Kira kind of talked a little bit where we've been in our journey up to now, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. I always like to start with something funny, and I have found another cute story about where did we come from. Well, this little girl is telling her class about how her baby brother was born. And this story is told by a second grade teacher. Okay? So the second grade teacher says, "I've been teaching now for about 15 years, and I have 2 kids myself, but the best birth story I know is the one I saw in my own second grade classroom a few years back. Well, one day, this little girl, Erica, a very bright, very outgoing kid, takes her turn and waddles up to the front of the class with a pillow stuffed underneath her sweater. She holds up a snapshot of an infant. This is Luke, my baby brother, and I'm going to tell you about his birthday. First, Mommy and Daddy made him the symbol of their love, and then Daddy put a seed in my mother's stomach, and Luke grew in there. He ate for 9 months through an umbrella cord. She's standing there with her hands on the pillow, and I'm trying not to laugh and wishing I had a video camera recorder. The kids are watching her in amazement. Then about 2 Saturdays ago, my mother starts going, oh, 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 and Erica puts a hand behind her back and groans. She walked around the house for like an hour. Oh, oh, oh. Now this kid is doing this hysterical duck walk, holding her back and groaning. My father called the middle wife. She delivers babies, but she doesn't have a sign on the car like the Domino's man. They got my mother to lay down in bed like this, and Erica lies down against the wall, holding her back again. And then pop. My mother had this big bag of water she kept in there in case he got thirsty, and it just blew up and spilled all over the place. And she shows how the water came spewing out. So it was just too funny. Well, then the middle wife starts going push, push, and breathe, breathe. They start counting, but they never got to 10. And then all of a sudden, out comes my brother. He was covered in yucky stuff. They said it was from the play center, so there must have been a lot of stuff inside there. Then Erica stood up and she took a big theatrical bow and returned to her seat. I'm sure I applauded the loudest. Ever since then, if it's show and tell day, I bring my camcorder to school just in case another middle wife story comes along. So I thought that was cute. Well, where have we come from? What have we done here at Regional West to get to where we are today? We've been very busy bees. We've been doing a lot of skin to skin. For the last 9 years, we've been implementing birth skin to skin after a vaginal delivery, and we've seen some huge improvements in latch scores, breastfeeding duration during the hospitalization, and mother and infant bonding. Our blood sugars on our babies have maintained. Their temperature regulation has been so much better. So we've seen a lot of practice, a lot of change in our practice through evidence-based, and a lot of changes for the good. We put in the 20 hours of education for all new employees, and this is modeled after the Baby Friendly Health Initiative. So all new nurses that come to the Birth and Infant Care Center, they get 20 hours of breastfeeding education, and then year after year, every year, then we do 5 hours. Like I said, we model after the Baby Friendly Health Initiative. We have core measures this year, breastfeeding core measures. And so this is kind of a new thing for us. We've been monitoring exclusive breastfeeding while the mother and the baby are here. We learned how to be supportive for the breastfeeding mom and baby, and we changed our practice because of evidence-based practice. We developed and we implemented breastfeeding information. So all of our new mothers get this feeding baby brochure that we've made out, and it talks about the exclusive breastfeeding breast milk plan, risks when adding formula to breastfeeding, and then risks for exclusive formula feeding. So we give them this information and then we give them a newborn feeding plan. Mothers have a choice on how they're going to feed their baby while they're here, but we want them to have make an informed decision. So then we have a new feeding plan on our charts for the babies, whether the mother chooses to exclusively breastfeed her baby, breastfeed and formula feed her baby, or chooses to formula feed her baby. And Kira talked about that already a little bit, but that's what our forms look like, and those forms are started with the mothers in their pre-admission testing, and then the feeding plans are on the baby's charts. Most recently, we had 7 nurses go through the CLC course that was here, offered by the Healthy Children's Center of Breastfeeding, and so we're awaiting their results to see if they are CLCs. A couple of them will be in the doctor's offices, the rest are on our unit. So why do you think this happened? Why do you think we decided we needed more CLCs? It wasn't a choice by us. It was a good choice though. But, by the nation. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, and the US Department of Health and Human Services recognize that breastfeeding is the optimal nutritional source for infants. And we have realized that we needed to educate and support our breastfeeding mothers so they can breastfeed their newborns for the first year, which is recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Therefore, there's a need for more bedside nurses with their CLCs that have the breastfeeding knowledge and to become breastfeeding lactation nurses. The Healthcare Reform Act also came into play 2010, 2011, and it's not only part of our medical practice, but it also became a very big part of our breastfeeding moms and babies and the way that we practice and changed our practice for them. So So the Health Care Reform Act, or the Affordable Care Act, was a little sticky at first. We didn't know how they were going to get the breast pumps. We didn't know who they were to get the breast pumps from. We were running out of breast pumps, you know. Then some of the insurance companies were able to write prescriptions for breast pumps or cover prescription for breast pumps, and some were not. And it took a while, and it finally got into play about 2011 when the Surgeon General call to action came into being. So now we're kind of all on the same page, and we know that mothers can be reimbursed for breast pumps or are given breast pumps if we send them home with a prescription written with the mother's name on it. Routine breast pump code, we have a code for the breast pump, and it should be signed by the mother's doctor along with their feeding plan. Now, most insurance companies have a place in town that will provide these breast pumps. There are still a few insurance companies that will mail them the breast pump, but at least we're kind of getting this all figured out. And it's very nice. It's very nice because all mothers can get a personal breast pump. Not only did the Health Care Reform Act provide the breast pumps, but it also provides breastfeeding support, counseling, and equipment for the duration of their breastfeeding. So it prompted a change, and we became proactive. Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the World Health Organization and United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF. As early as the early 20th century, as part of a national campaign to lower infant mortality, public health officials around the country started putting up posters in the cities urging mothers to breastfeed their babies and to avoid feeding their babies the spoiled cow's milk that they had. So breastfeeding not only became a public priority just within the last few years with the Affordable Care Act, it's been a public priority for years. And as early as the 1930s, breastfeeding has become recognized as a public health priority, especially in the warmer climates. There are 3 strategies needed for increasing breastfeeding initiation and duration, and that's promote, protect, and support. Talk a little bit about the Healthy People 2020 goals, and then we'll go back to the promoting, protecting, and supporting. But since the late 1970s, the Federal Healthy People Initiative has been a visible component of the United States approach to improving population health. In each decade, a new version of Healthy People is issued. So our last one was written in 2010, and according to our progress, or our lack thereof, we develop another set of goals, and so our new goals are for 2020. The medical community has orchestrated breastfeeding campaigns in response to low breastfeeding rates twice the United States history. So therefore, there's also the breastfeeding component of the 2020 Healthy People goals. So again, the World Health Organization, WHO, and the UNICEF have set out 3 strategies that are needed for increasing breastfeeding initiation and duration. We must be promoting, we must be protecting, and we must be supportive. Promotion focuses on advantages of breastfeeding on a personal, community, state, or global level. Okay. Can you think of a way that we have been promoting breastfeeding? How about protection? Protecting focuses on the governmental, the manufacturer, and social responsibility to assure breastfeeding's ability to compete with commercial interests. And this also includes addressing improper marketing practices. And support focuses on the interaction of helpers with family, as well as program development and implementation. So it takes a variety of community expertise that's needed to promote, to protect, and to support breastfeeding. And I think of different ways that we've done that, promoting